call.
Mayor Reese,
Here.
Councilmember Oss,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Schuldes,
Here.
Hagerly,
Here.
Osmus,
Here.
and Butterfield.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions, deletions, or approval? Motion for approval.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to add just a clarification on the agreement between the contractor and the homeowners on who's responsible for taking care of newly seeded grass and stuff along new construction. What's the agreement? Is it on the contractor? Is it on the homeowner? Just some clarification on that. So that'd be information only, I guess. We could add that as item, I don't know, item I suppose.
Okay. With that change, any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Oss,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schuldes,
Aye.
Hagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
and Butterfield.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
And that passes. Consent items.
The Police Civil Service Commission minutes of September 25th, 24. Approval of the Blue Line Arena second scoreboard. Consideration of a state one day to 4 day temporary on-sale liquor license permit for the Willmar Fraternal Order of Eagles. Pheasants Forever Minnesota Habitat Fund lawful gambling application, and the accounts payable report from 10/3/24 through 10/16/24. And for your information, the Willmar Municipal Utilities financial report from August of 24 and the director's reports.
All right.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any item? Not roll call.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schuldes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
and Oss.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Nobody signed up for the forum?
No.
All right, thank you. Next is a public hearing, special assessment hearing for unpaid weed and grass mowing. Renee, City Clerk.
Council members, Mr. Mayor, tonight I'm asking for a resolution certifying the amount of unpaid weed, grass mowing removal charges for the county to be sent to the county auditor for collection for 2025. Pursuant to Municipal Code 9, Chapter 9, Article 3, concerning the cutting of weeds or grass, and in the case of noncompliance, such work to be performed by the city or its agents, the cost thereof can be certified as a special assessment against the property concerned, and the city has the authority to certify as special assessments those costs not reimbursed. Notice of tonight's hearing has been sent to the below listed property owners, and council should consider their objections if there are anyone here to speak on that and take appropriate action. Those are parcel number 957401330, Jonathan Alder. Parcel number 958200260, Guadalupe Flores. Parcel number 958201170, Caleb Gross. Parcel number 956030600, Isaac Lopez. And parcel number 954800060, the state of Minnesota County Auditor.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody present wanting to speak in regards to the weed grass mowing? Any? Then I'll close the hearing. Need a motion to approve the special assessment for unpaid mowing charges.
So move.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Hagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
and Nelson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Next is the special assessment hearing for unpaid fire alarm system charges. Once again, City Clerk Renee Larson.
Council members, Mr. Mayor, tonight I'm asking for a resolution certifying the amount of unpaid firearm alert system charges to be sent to the county auditor for collection in 2025. Pursuant to the Willmar Municipal Code, Chapter 8, Article 7, concerning the firearm system, the cost thereof can be certified as a special assessment against the property concerned, and the city has the authority to certify as special assessments those costs not reimbursed. Notice of tonight's hearing has been sent to the below listed property owner. The council should consider their objections and take appropriate action. That is parcel number 959131220, Willmar Leasing HSG Housing Association at Lakeland Drive.
That's it.
That's it, just one.
All right, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody here to speak to this? Unpaid fire alarm charges. If not, I'll close the hearing and look for a motion.
So move.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion? Rick?
So was this a first time offense or was there multiple alarms? Different times and then?
Frank, do you know?
I guess I'm not real sure. I know that what we do is we charge for alarm malfunctions, which means there's no reason for the alarms to go off. And then they're giving 5 days with a whole lot of grace period to get it fixed, and then we void it. They either never provided the proper paperwork that it was fixed, or paid the $500. So I'm assuming, I believe it is the apartments on Lakeland Drive, and we have several alarms going off there per year. So this one they just didn't take care of for some reason.
So are you allowed so many false alarms or?
Not necessarily. Anything that's a malfunction, it's the same paperwork, the same bill. They have 5 business days to fix it and provide us with proof that was fixed by a company. This one, they did not provide it to us after several attempts, I guess.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, roll call.
Councilmember Schultes.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
And Davis.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Next, it's a special assessment hearing for unpaid infectious tree removal charges. City Clerk Renee.
Again, council members, Mr. Mayor, I'm asking for a resolution certifying the amount of unpaid infectious tree removal charges to the county auditor for collection in 2025. Pursuant to Willmar Municipal Code, Chapter 9, Article 4, concerning the removal of infectious trees and costs thereof, can be certified as a special assessment against the property concerned, and the city has the authority to certify as special assessments those costs not reimbursed. Notice of tonight's hearing has been sent to the below listed property owner. The council should consider their objection and take appropriate action. That parcel being 95006-7300, Efren and Cynthia Guerrero on Trot Avenue.
I'll open the public hearing. Anybody here to speak to this issue? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and look for a motion.
So moved.
We got a
Second.
motion. We got a second. Now, are these on, they're not on right of way? They're just an infectious tree on private property?
That's correct.
Okay. Right? Any questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
and Schultes.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Next is completion of clear zone acquisition plan. Eric?
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for your time this evening. What you have before you is a clear zone acquisition plan proposal. Clear zone acquisition is a little bit of a misnomer, but it's kind of what the state requires us to call this. We're not actually acquiring any land in this particular plan. The clear zones are at the end of each runway. So you can think of it as the approach end or the departure end, however you want to look at it. But we have 4 of these clear zones, one on each end of the sod runway and one at each end of the main runway. And if you think about how the airport lies, we have roads that impede those safe zones. And so what the state of Minnesota is very specific about how we need to have control of those clear zones, and we have to show that we either own or have avigation easements on those properties. Unfortunately, we can't own the road because the road right-of-way is owned by MnDOT or Candioi County in one instance. And in one little spot, if you look at that map, there's a spot kind of on the northeast edge of the airport boundary. And that's actually MnDOT right-of-way that was potentially going to be part of an old Highway 12 relocation from years ago. But because MnDOT owns that right-of-way, we can't show that we own it. So what we have to do is come up with this clear zone acquisition plan that in this case shows that the only thing we don't have control over or ownership over are those road right-of-way sections. And then we can request an exemption from MnDOT when it comes to our grant writing process. Included in your packet was kind of a breakdown of a new pointing scale that MnDOT uses. It's been out for a couple of years. And you can see that if you don't have this clear zone right or acquisition or clear zone clearly owned, it's a -10 right off the bat. So we kind of start out in the hole. And so this plan will allow us to ask for the exemption for those road right-of-way areas and allow us to maintain good standing on these grant applications. So it is a state funded program. So this is 70-30. The proposal is for $10,000. The city portion would be $3,000. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Eric, out of curiosity, this is a small piece that the state owns, which was deemed as right of way for the bypass. Is there more beyond that? Or
For as far as clear zone area
no, just
or stuff that they own
They
right
still
away?
own?
Yeah, they do. In fact, if you drive on Highway 40, there's a piece of property now owned by the city of Willmar that used to be Phil Quam building site. And you know where the buildings and the bins were, and then just to the west of that, there's a wide swath that has trees on either side of it and is grass. And actually, that chunk is kind of the remnants of that easement or that right-of-way area. It's a north and south line that goes for about a mile or a mile and a half. I'd have to look back at the GIS. And then if you look further down on the GIS towards where the bypass is now, the 23 bypass, or where 23 starts out again, there's some areas that are owned there that kind of make a swale towards what would have intersected the roads.
so the state owns all of that.
Yeah, it's just a stretch. Yep. Yep.
Right? I need a motion, or if you have questions, to approve professional services from Bolton and Mink for this clear zone acquisition plan.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Oss,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
and Fagerly.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Next is approve increasing the firefighter PERA retirement. Fire Chief Frank.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you, we ask your approval to adopt a resolution to raise the firefighter pension level from $6,000 per year to $7,500 per year. Some of you may recall back in 2019, I was directed by the council to review this every 2 years with the firefighters, which we have. Last year would have been 2023 would have been the year to review it. We reviewed it, and the firefighters didn't feel that our fund was strong enough at that point to ask for a raise. So they decided to wait until this year. We reviewed it again this year, and our fund grew quite a bit. And so we are approaching you to see if get approval to raise it to $7,500. In your packet is the cost analysis for this. You'll see if we raise it to $7,500 per year of good service for each firefighter, our fund will still be at about 113% funded. And that's also a worst case scenario, that if everybody that can retire retires January 2nd, which is not going to happen, obviously. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Questions? Audrey?
Thank you. How do we compare to other communities?
Other communities that are in the Paris system, we are on the top end. There's about 8 departments that are a little bit higher than us. Several small departments that are lower than us. There's about 180 to 200 departments in the Paris system, out of the 780 departments or 740 departments in Minnesota. So I don't know where the private ones are at. I can just compare us to the Paris system.
I think that's why we were low back in 2019, why we asked for you to do this regularly.
That's correct. We just
I just wondered where we were now. So thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Chief, could you tell me a little bit about the process of the review? It sounds like it's something that other members of the fire department participated in, and clearly Pura participated in that review process as well. But just talk to us about the process.
So basically, we request from Para a cost analysis on certain dollar amounts. Our Relief Association board decided which dollar amounts they wanted the analysis done on. That was completed. This information was brought to the full fire department to explain to them and ask what their opinions were. And this is how we came up with this number.
Okay, so the full fire department would have been the one that made the recommendation for the 750.
That is correct.
Okay, I'm sorry, 7,500.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other question, Rick?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So the city doesn't pay this. This comes from your profit share.
That is correct. The city, to the best of my knowledge, over the last 30 plus years has never had to contribute into the Relief Association or the Para Fund for the fire department.
They only would have to if the fund was depleted.
Depleted down to about 75%. So we have quite a ways to go before that would be a possibility.
By increasing this, would this help recruit more firemen?
I believe so. Recruit and retention both. I think as older people get, the more they're aware of retirement, and this is a good bonus for the hard work that they do.
Anybody else? Carl?
Does the retirement, is that based on years of service, high five?
It's based on years of service. You get vested at 40% after 5 years, and then you gain 4% up to the 20-year mark, and then you're at 100%. So under 5 years, you get 0. You have to be here for at least 5 years.
So this would encourage firefighters even more to stay on for 20 years
Yes.
or more.
Yep.
Anybody else? If no other questions, I need a motion.
I'll make that motion to increase it.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
and Osmus.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. All right, I'll call on our city administrator, Leslie Valiant, to go over the interim police chief.
Yes, good evening, council. So Sergeant Mike Holm has accepted our offer to become our interim police chief. So we will be assigning the duties of police chief to Officer Holm and for that duration, and he will be, the recommended salary will be the annual salary of the police chief at step 4 of 115,668 for that duration. And if at any time he wishes to step down, which I hope he doesn't, he certainly will be able to. We are working on an MOU also that the council will be seeing on November 4th in regards to keeping Sergeant Holmes at the LELS during this time because it's an out of class working situation. Any questions?
Vicky?
I just want to say thank you for stepping up for this role.
All right, well, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
and Butterfield.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Thank you, Leslie. Next, our Human Resource Director, Luann Seatsma, in regards to health insurance rates and employer contributions.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening, I'm asking for a resolution to approve 2025 health insurance rates and employer contributions as presented. Just an overview for you on this. The city's 2025 health insurance rates increased by over 12% for both single and family coverage. And according to the current union contracts, union employees would face more than 133% increase over the employee 2024 health insurance coverage costs to the 2025. To address this, council recommended supplementing the employer 2025 health insurance contribution from $611.39 to $653.06 for single coverage, and for family coverage, going from $1,611.12 to $1,694.45. So an additional $41.67 and $83.33 respectively for the single and family coverage. Additionally, council reaffirms the importance of all staff being included in that base pay schedule that you passed last year and was approved December 2023. This additional coverage will apply to all employees on the base pay schedule as of December 6, 2024. And with that, I will answer any questions.
Questions? Carl?
Still, there are 2 bargaining units yet that aren't part of the base pay scale?
That's correct.
And where are we at in terms of, I don't know, you can't go into details on negotiations, but where are we at in that
Yeah,
process?
good question. So we have met with both ASME groups multiple times throughout the last 11 months or 12 months now. It would have been October we first started discussing with them, and as well as all the other union groups, and just have gone back and forth and not been able to come to a resolution on that. So we're hoping that helping with health insurance too will help get us back to the discussion.
What's the sticking point of, or what's the problem? Can't.
That I can't.
Okay. When's the last time that you actually met, sat down and talked with each other?
We met in, I believe it was August, and then we presented another, they voted in September, I believe, and voted against the base pay schedule implementation at that point.
Justin?
There's, as Councilmember Schultz alluded, there's 2 bargaining units. You met with one of them in August?
Right.
The other bargaining unit?
Have had several discussions with the union reps from that group, and just trying to figure out when they want to get together, what is it that we can start talking about, and have not heard back from them. So
When was the last time you met?
that one I believe was July.
Okay. Why December 6th?
Just so we can get that base pay schedule passed before the end of the year, so they would be able, as of January 1, to receive the health insurance cost.
The 6th is pretty early on in December, or is there a reason that has to be the 6th?
Just by the 6th would be nice, so it can be done by the end of the year.
It has to do with the council. You only have one meeting after this December 6th. And so all the agreements and everything have to be signed prior to coming to council. So there's MOUs and MOAs that are considered in all that also. So there's a lot of work and legal work to get done in between.
Is there any flexibility in extending that past the 6th
Why?
to offer them more time to come into compliance?
I don't know why we would need to. We've been working on this for the last 11 months.
You don't,
Everything has been in place and nothing changes except their step increases.
how much time do you need to present us with, from when they would sign or when they would come to an agreement, how much time do you need to prepare documents for us?
Well, we have to have the documents before that Wednesday before the council packet is due on the whatever date that is.
So December 10th would be acceptable?
Earlier would be acceptable for.
Yeah. No, because the 10th, no, we wouldn't be able to get everything signed into us. That's the Tuesday before that Wednesday when everything is supposed to be in the council packet on Wednesday, the 11th.
I'm asking you how much time you need.
The 6th, that's the Friday.
There's no flexibility in that.
No, because that would basically the 9th then, Monday, to get everything back.
Okay. Thank you.
Carl?
So I understand the need for wanting to get this done and get everybody on board. Seems like we're bullying them a little bit with this. Sign on or we won't give you this. I don't know if I like that tactic.
We're just trying to follow council's direction from a year ago that pass the base pay schedule. We're trying to get everybody on, and
I agree, and I don't know, like I said, you can't say what the sticking point is. I just feel that this maybe isn't, I don't know if it's, like I say, it just feels like we're bullying them, that this is not the way to gain trust and goodwill. I don't know that I can support this with this tactic.
Audrey?
I'm just seeking clarification. So it feels like we haven't been at the table maybe as often as we should have with the deadlines coming. And I realize we need to get this pay equity taken care of. And the insurance kind of jumped up at us and to do this. With this, I'm just seeking clarification. These are payments that are just going to be for 2025.
Right, 1 year. Mhm.
Okay. And so if we came to an agreement, I mean, we're giving them the deadline of December 6th. Okay. And so that's a take it or leave it for the increase on the insurance for the whole year. Or if we were to, and I know we have a deadline for pay equity too, but is that something we could come back and revisit if they did agree to that we missed the deadline, or is this a one-time, I mean, what you're proposing sounds like a one-time take off.
That would be up, I think that would be up to a council decision. You guys have the authority to move it beyond that. When we've talked negotiation strategy, so.
So when we come back to 2026 for health insurance, this increase goes away.
Mhm.
And we're back to what's in the contract, and I know that we're up for negotiation for all of the
Yes,
next
so that would be a
year?
renewal year, yep.
Okay.
So we'd be in discussions with all 4 groups then at that point in time, so.
Justin,
When's the deadline for the pay equity?
Well, 2023 is
Mhm.
still the one that we're working on with this. And then I have to report again now in January 2025. It's an every 2 year. And to be in compliance, we aren't in compliance in 2023 yet, but they know that we're working on this and that this is something that we're trying to work through. So they haven't dinged us yet at this point in time, but then we have to report again in January. So we'll see how that comes out.
And the report in January is why we're pushing for the end of the year deadline.
No, not necessarily. Trying to follow council's direction to get a citywide based pay schedule passed, and that means getting everybody on it. So that's what we feel like we've been working on for the last year with all of our groups, and just had some struggles.
Sure. I think if it's about following council's direction, I'll echo a comment that I believe I heard from Councilmember Nelson, that I'm disappointed that there hasn't been any movement in that negotiation for months, and it sounds like
I,
you've been
I
You've
would
been
argue
waiting?
that point or push back on that point. Those might be just meeting dates. It's not that we haven't had conversations. I mean, over and over and over.
Well, and there was movement. I mean, so without going into negotiation strategy and stuff, we have had lots of discussions and good discussions. Just not when it gets to the vote, we have not been able to get there. So
Okay. But the end of I'm sorry.
go ahead.
The end of the year doesn't sound like it's a deadline now, right? You have to report in January, but is there a deadline you have to report in January? Is that January 31st? Is that January 15th?
the 15th.
15th. So there's actually more time that we could give them to December 31st, and you could bring those items to our first council meeting in January.
If council wishes. It's not the way that we wrote it up, but that's,
Okay.
that would be up to
Thank you.
Audrey,
Is there a fine for us not meeting in 2025?
They're supposed to be, but they know we're working on it, so they've been very lenient. The pay
So we
equity
didn't pay one in 2023, and we were allowed to have this time frame
That's
to
correct.
do that.
Julie,
So if we approve this, and then you'll go back to those bargaining units, they have all of November
Mhm.
to come back to the table. Is there any reason we would need November and December? Is there any other information that's going to come out that,
Not that we're aware of. I mean, you never know until you are meeting and negotiating, so.
okay,
Carl,
So I've heard from a couple of the members that haven't settled it or haven't approved this yet. And get a little different story from them on, one says he haven't met since August or April, made several calls and have not had any luck getting a meeting. And then the other, I guess I don't know, he said it was August. But it sounds to me like you haven't had an actual sit down face to face for several months. despite attempts to get to the table. And I don't, do you see anything happening in the next month? I know, sorry, rhetorical. I don't know. I don't like tying this insurance and hurting those workers with this, I guess. I don't know what options we have, but trying to use this to force them to accept something that they're not in agreement with yet. I don't know if that's the right way to go, but I don't know what our options are on this, because without the additional help, how much is it going to cost each of those employees?
The benefit information just went out, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't know if anybody does, but for our benefit on open enrollment.
No. Excuse me. Just saying no to Sarah.
Oh,
I have the numbers. Does it?
oh,
No.
that's okay. So, well, if the 4167 for single and
All right, add the 611 and the
733, so $73.38 plus the 4167, so it was 105, I believe, for single, and then a little over 300, I think, for family. So without the help from the extra contributions that you guys are considering.
Council want to do here. Audrey.
So our next meeting is,
November 4th, I think here.
okay. What if we don't want to do this until next meeting?
We have benefits open enrollment meetings this week, so that's why we wanted to bring it to you now so that we could update everybody. Sometimes people are trying to make health insurance decisions based on what other family members can get where they're working. So we just felt like the sooner they had the information, the better it would be for everybody. But that's up to you. We would just go with what we have from our increase with it for everybody then until you approve something.
open enrollment closes November 15th.
Yeah, we have 2 weeks of open enrollment after that, but then we'd have to make sure we got the information out to everybody again to make sure that they could make a different decision if they wanted to.
Just
I want to offer a motion to approve the 2025 health insurance rates and employer contributions. The additional coverage will apply to all employees on the base pay scale by December 31st, 2024.
I'll second that.
okay, we got a motion and a second. Audrey,
I'd like the motion repeated with what we were actually doing versus what's in front of us.
My intent is to change the deadline for employees to be on the base pay scale from December 6th, what was presented to us, to December 31st, which would give staff the same amount of time to prepare the documents for the meeting as they previously requested, but it's the meeting for January 6th, giving our director time to respond to the state by January 15th.
does that work for you, Joanne?
Of course, whatever you guys want. Yep.
Everything's okay over there?
I think the motion is fine, but I just point out that I believe the council's first meeting in 2025 would be January 13th under the charter.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you.
Otherwise,
That's right. Thank you.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Julie?
I just want to speak to it. I don't know that another 30 days is going to make any difference. Other than maybe they can talk back and forth, but talk about it more. But I think either they're going to go for it or they're not. And whether they do that in 30 days or 60 days, I don't know if that's going to make that much difference. And then it belabors the whole insurance piece for when that can get enacted and put in place by January 1. I feel like it's cleaner if we stick with the December 6th. And like I said, either they go for it or they don't. And hopefully you guys will have conversations in November. Hopefully.
Audrey?
So the insurance piece is new. When did they find out about what we're proposing for those who've settled and those who haven't?
So the main cost, the one that was 12%, above 12%, I sent those out to everybody to get ready for open enrollment last Thursday.
Mhm.
And then the packet would have come out on Friday. And so without your approval, we didn't present the information that this was a possibility until maybe tomorrow.
So this isn't, I mean, this is just getting out there.
That's right.
So if it does make a difference to them, it feels like somewhere a little more time would be a good thing to do. I'm not sure about the timeframes with but if this is brand new to them.
The only still issue is that with open enrollment, we have that deadline of November 15th. So the longer it takes to get that information, then if people are making a decision one way or another based on how much it's going to cost them, that could be prohibitive for someone. I just don't know.
There's no middle ground. I mean, I appreciate what he's proposing, but our frustration with the timeline. Is there anything that would be better somewhere in the middle, or that we have a special meeting or something?
You guys love special meetings, don't you?
No, we don't. No, we don't. But this is critical, and
I know, I get it. No.
if it keeps peace with our employees, then I think that's our responsibility too.
That's right. I mean, you're trying to help them by offering an additional contribution. So that's that whole piece of it too. So
Could a compromise be December 16th?
Well, that's when, the 16th of December is when we wanted to present the base pay scale to you for approval.
Right. To be enacted by January 1.
Yes. Or with the base pay scale, they could have enacted it December 16th. So anybody that's supposed to be getting a raise, they'd get that anytime between December 16th and January 1. As far as a step increase.
Audrey?
I know it's more work, but you can make it effective December 16th if we did it. I mean, you'd have to do it, a special adjustment on payroll, but I know that you can do that.
right, you meet that night. So in order for them to have voted and adopted it and wanting it implemented, that's why the date was a little bit before that, so we could bring it to you on the 16th. So probably the Friday before would be the latest. I mean, that's the 11th hour because you already have the packet and all that information put together, but we could.
I know, and we get updates to the packet almost every
You do,
meeting,
I
so
know.
I know.
You're talking December 13th.
That's a
So
Friday.
that they'd have to make a decision by December 13th, and then we could vote on it on the 16th.
Yeah, I just was trying to find a compromise
Right.
in the
Right.
middle somewhere.
If that's what the council wishes, I don't care. We'll try to do whatever's possible.
Justin?
I'm not sure I understand the middle that you're trying to find. Like, my intent with the motion is to give them a sense of goodwill, plenty of time for them to make a decision. Pushing that back to the end of the year, I'm hearing that part of the reason that we don't want to table this and we want to make a decision to do this tonight is because our employees also need to know what the reality is as they choose their coverage for the coming year. So they need to vote tonight. That would be beneficial to employees. Giving them extra time would be beneficial to them. I'm not sure with the 16th how that helps.
I was just looking, if you were saying the 30th or 31st or
Yeah.
into January, if you wanted to give them a little more time, that was a compromise on your motion.
Mhm.
Personally, I don't think it makes any difference if it's 30 days or 60 days. Either they're gonna go for it or they aren't. So then it's just a matter of convenience for staff and bookkeeping and trying to keep things in line with a time frame of the open enrollment and enacting into the payroll.
And there's a lot of year-end payroll stuff.
Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just not to interject here, but the first payroll in December would be the first 2025 health insurance deduction, which would be December 12th. So that would take effect on that day for employees. That's the first time they'd see these premium increases.
Okay. I say we call the vote on the extension proposal.
Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
No.
Davis.
No.
Schultes.
No.
Fagerly.
No.
Osmus.
No.
Butterfield.
No.
Oss.
Aye.
Gotta support your motion.
1 aye, 6 noes.
All right.
Okay.
I still see them as kind of two separate issues. We need to get the one settled, and we need to deal with health insurance so that it's equitable to our employees. That's why I was suggesting somewhere, to do that. And so I guess the question that we have to decide is, are we putting them together as a choice? Do this and you get this, or don't do this and you don't get this. That's a part of the. I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to the city, and I know that we were working hard to try to make it equitable for them because of the large increase. But I'm struggling with the timeframes and the concern that we get back together and share information and do what we need to do to try to get both sides together.
Julie?
Okay. I think we have to make a decision so that people can decide what they're going to do with their health insurance, either stay with the cities or go with their, if their spouse has a plan. So, and we have to come in compliance at some point. So, I'll make a motion to approve the 225 health insurance rates and employer contributions as presented.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second discussion. Carl?
I would like to make an amendment to that, that we, as a sign of good faith to the employees, that we add all bargaining units to that, with the hope that that brings them to the table to make them amenable to accepting the step or the base pay. Giving them this, helping them with this, helps them with the base pay, so that we give this additional help to all of the bargaining units, not just those that have accepted it already.
Julie?
I can appreciate that, but I can also look at, they've been working on this for 11 months, and they're not coming to an agreement. So I don't know how giving them a good faith action changes their thinking on coming in compliance.
Yeah, it's hard to say when we don't know what the sticking points are. Is, is it
Right.
money or is it verbiage or is it, I don't know what it is, but, and we can't know. I'm just hoping that this might help.
Do I have a second on Carl's amendment? Do I have a second on Carl's amendment? Hearing none, it fails. All right, so we're back to as presented. Justin.
I'm just looking for a little clarification, maybe from our city attorney. All of this is related to union negotiations. Is this a matter that we could move into closed session at the current time, or do we have to give prior notice to that?
You're in a regular meeting. I believe you do have authority to close the meeting under the open meeting law to discuss labor negotiations, labor relations strategy. I might suggest if we do that, coming back to this at the end of the meeting.
I feel like that might be beneficial to us.
I would agree. Does that mean we should vote to table it right now? Or what do we need to do right now? There's a motion and a
We
second.
have a motion and a second. We probably need to table it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the motion would need to be a motion to postpone discussion until the end of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I was gonna say, as a maker of the motion, do I have to do that? No.
Okay, we got a motion and we got a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Oss,
Aye.
and Nelson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Motion carries. All right, so we'll go on to agricultural land exemption of special assessments. City Clerk Bernier.
Just need 1 second. Just needed a note. Sorry about that. Mr. Mayor and Council, I am asking for a resolution to approve the agricultural land exemptions for special assessments. It's our policy of the city to temporarily exempt from assessment certain lands currently used for agricultural purposes. Each year, contact is made with the listed landowners to ascertain their desire to place the land in agricultural use for the 2025 crop year. Attached is a resolution listing the property owners who have made application for agricultural land exemptions and have met the criteria contained in the city's comprehensive assessment policy. And they are for Jennifer and James Larson, J&C Enterprises. And I believe that's it. There's just 2.
Okay. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and it's been seconded. Audrey.
I'm just looking for clarification where that first property is. I looked up the street address and then I looked up the parcel number and I looked up the section and I can't get there on GIS. And I just wondered if somebody can tell me where that is.
That's weird.
I think it's straight off the radio station to the north. Jim Larson's property.
His address is on the west side of that road, but it's out by Valley. I was trying to think if that was correct where that land is. So
Yes, that is correct.
that's where it is. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis, and Schultes.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Next is an ordinance amending electric rates. Brene, you want to lead us through that too?
At the November 4th, 2024 meeting, we asked for a public hearing to be set so that the municipal utilities could have the rates adjusted and to call for a public hearing on that rate adjustment. We were unable to meet the 10-day publication notice for that public hearing and are asking for that public hearing to be reset at the last meeting, the October 7th meeting. You set the meeting date for today's evening and we were unable to meet that 10-day publication notice. So we're asking for that public hearing to be reset for November 4th at or about 6:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
and Fagerly.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. All right. Next is a comprehensive plan city council update from Christopher.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Today marks a very exciting day for the city and especially the Department of Planning and Development. Today is the unveiling of our draft land use plan, our future land use plan from our comprehensive plan. As you know, the city of Willmar is in the process of updating the comprehensive plan. The plan will help the city maintain its character, enhance the experience for our residents, and support economic development. The current comprehensive plan was adopted in 2009. So today, we're going to go over some of the survey results, as well as the land use, do a land use overview. The land use categories we'll review, and then we'll talk about the future land use plan as well. So I always start all of our talks about the comprehensive plan with just doing a reset and really explaining what a comprehensive plan is. And a comprehensive plan it provides strategic guidance for future growth and development, and it established a 20-year vision for the city of Willmar. It will do four things. It'll establish and guide city policies and decisions, combine city plans into one document, provides the basis for zoning and land use decisions, and provide basis for capital improvement plans as well. So if you can remember, we had a survey we launched in late July of this year, and it closed September 30th of this year. We offer 4 surveys pertaining to the comprehensive plan. So that's economic development, housing, recreation, land use, and land use. One that isn't listed here, it was part of our Safe Streets for All program or plan. It was the mobility survey. The mobility survey will feed into 2 plans. It'll feed into the mobility chapter of the comprehensive plan, as well as the pedestrian trail plan that Parks and Rec is leading now. And you heard about the results from the mobility survey back in October 7th, so just 2 weeks ago. So a few things to highlight. Throughout the 4 surveys, we received around 700 responses. We had 1,400 open-ended comments. This is really huge because that is your qualitative survey results. It's the way that we can read those comments and interpret things as well. Working with other communities, 1,400 open-ended comments, that's a big deal. Part of it was thanks to our focus group as well, who told us to go to Facebook and utilize Facebook to kind of gather those comments as well. And that has been a great engagement part for us. So I want to go through some of the demographics for our survey participants. The greatest participation we saw between 25 years of age to 64. And you're going to see a hike. Part of that was the majority of it was between 35 and 44-year-old survey takers or respondents. This too is actually taking a look at the 35 to 44, that age range that responded to the survey. The comprehensive plan is done with a 20-year vision to it. And so at the youngest, the 25-year-old is going to be 45 years old. And at the oldest, or the eldest, it'll be 84 years old. And so this plan is actually in those respondents. We're taking a look at their own future as well here in the city. Our race, we did have an overwhelming response from white non-Hispanic residents at almost 82%. Willmar is about 60% white non-Hispanic. We did have representation from other groups as well, and we did some targeted outreach where those looked more so like roundtables and the conversations that we did, more qualitative survey gathering with both Somali as well as the Karen population. Next, we'll go through the income and representation from all income brackets. 50 to 75K was one of the highest, as well as 100 to 149. And we had quite a few people who prefer not to say. The tenure in Willmar, so survey respondents that responded the most lived here in Willmar for 20 years or more. I want to point that out because that's huge too. So what we're seeing is that people who have a total commitment to the city, who knows the city, remember it not 10 years ago, but 20 years ago, and want to see the future of the city grow as well. Then we took a look and we asked them about where did they live before Willmar, and you can see that most of our respondents live elsewhere in Minnesota and relocated to the city. They also they always lived here and lived in a different state as well, was the highest. Majority, overwhelmingly, percentage of our respondents work here in the city limits. And then we wanted to kind of prioritize what exactly should we be looking at. So the first thing that we got, 74% of our respondents said attracting and retaining business. And number 2 came enhancing entertainment opportunities at 57%. Number 3 was maintaining and improving public infrastructure. So that's at 46% or 47%. And then affordable housing topped off the top 4 with 44%. We then looked at other opportunities and gave categories. We wanted to know, do respondents want to see less, same, or more of some of these categories? Some of the things that residents or participants want to see more of is more single-family homes, more senior housing, more innovation and technology opportunities, as well as more quality restaurants and bars. We then took a look and we asked respondents to tell us exactly what are some of the things what are some of your favorite places to visit throughout the city? And there's no, overwhelmingly, we received Robin Island, and that was almost the top pick for people who took the survey, as well as in-person conversations that we had. Outdoor recreation, family-friendly activities, community and social aspects, and dining and shopping were some of the favorite places to visit here in the city. Some of the least favorite places to visit, we created some of from the qualitative research that we got, the responses. We did a word pool, if you will, and of course the mall came up, specifically the mall parking lot downtown. And so some of these key things, it actually showed me that the least favorite places in Willmar, there's more improvement to be done, and we can zoom into that. And so, infrastructure and maintenance issues, parking lots, roads, building maintenance, safety concerns, or the perception of safety, lack of vitality, as well as noise pollution and inconvenience. Now, I am going to share with you all a map. Give me just a second and I can hand that out to you. I tried to print it on 11 by 17, but it didn't work. So if you all don't mind to double up and share. I know. No, I really tried to print them smaller. Couldn't get it. I'm sorry. So in front of you is a future land use map. This is a draft. I'm happy to say that it is currently online as well, and we'll look at it online. But before I start, I just want to give a brief overview of the future land use map. It is the future land use map visually represents the recommended land uses throughout the city of Willmar, guiding future land use decisions. Unlike the city's zoning map that enforces designated land use, the future land use map is not a zoning map, which focuses on specific development requirements for individual parcels. Instead, it illustrates the collective aspirations and goals of residents, business owners, and stakeholders. It portrays what the city of Willmar could become in 20 years, not necessarily what exists today. The land use plan will guide decisions and decision making. It will guide discussions and decision making processes concerning development, land, and growth. So here you're looking at land uses. Yellow meaning residential. You have some red for downtown. You'll see that a deeper pink is more regional commercial. You'll see purple is industrial, and you'll see that green is park spaces. So those are land use categories. The zoning itself kind of tells where on the map these can go and how they can be built. Whereas development is the end result and what we see. So land use are just the categories and where we'll like to see things being developed. The zoning will kind of dictate exactly where and how that can be built, and development is the end result. So we did a few things to we established categories and existing development patterns. We explored development opportunities. We defined a future land use plan and policy guidance. And then the next thing we're going to do is draft the land use element and future actions. So with that, let's talk about some of the land use categories that's in front of you today. So existing land use, future land use, and zoning. We kind of went over this already. The existing land use is not represented fully on the map. However, online, residents and yourself can click on it to see just the layer of current or existing land uses, and then click another link, and I'll show you that today. It'll show you future land use. So here you have a low density residential, which are single family detached homes on very large lots. You have medium density, which are areas of housing consisting of smaller lots. Think of a single family home as well as row homes, townhomes, and twin homes or duplexes. High density residential, think of those as your condominiums or complex or apartment buildings as well. Downtown, usually it's going to be a generally mix of developments. You're going to see more dense or a special overlay for that. Neighborhood commercial, Think about when you go to your dentist's office, an attorney or accountant, those smaller office buildings that service residents around. And then regional commercial, you want to think of large, big box. So south of Willmar Avenue, Walmart, Target, other Menards and Home Depot, big box stores that attract smaller communities to come in and shop those. You'll have industrial, such as the industrial park, which would be zoned, or the land use category is all industrial. So logistics, different facilities, as well as manufacturing. And then you have technology district, which is a land use category. These are all where we work. You want to think about areas that we incentivize for the creation and innovation of technology products, such as Midwest Campus. Institutional, these are going to be all of our governmental public buildings as well as schools too. Parks and open space, agriculture is represented on the existing land use map, and then vacant as well. So I'm going to go to the link, and I'd like to show you a few things on the map. So by visiting willmarmn.gov, scrolling down, and on the left-hand side, there's a tab here for the comprehensive plan. And by clicking the land use map, will take us to the tool that we are using where residents can zoom into a parcel and provide comments as well on the land use. So I'm going to zoom in. It looks like we have the future land use map is already up. The first thing that I want to talk about is the Highway 12 east coming west into the city. And we knew that this was something that was just said in passing before we started the comprehensive plan. I think a lot of you all had the concern about what the city looks like as you enter east to west. Well, surprisingly enough, this came up almost every workshop and every engagement that we had, this out of the 17 engagements, about what it looks like and feel coming east to west into our city. And so here on Highway 12, we identify majority of when you cross over the bridge at 71 that this is more of your regional commercial, right? Trucks, this is your hotels, restaurants. And as you come into the city, it should fizz out a bit. And so what you're going to see some proposed mixed use development. You're going to see neighborhood commercial here, so that lighter pink. And then here we already know there's housing right on the other side of that, but we have a lot of businesses too. There are some spots for light industrial that's already happening, and so we'll keep that. But coming into the downtown area, this is being proposed to be more of a mixed use future development. So we can see some industrial, we can see some housing. It can be a mixture of all as well. The other thing that I want to share with you all is 19th Avenue. We did take a look at 19th and the existing land use map. There's some things there that we did keep. However, we did want to really zoom in and make sure that this feels like neighborhood commercials since that's already existing in that area. And you have like some schools here as well off of 19. And so we just wanted to really make sure we got that right and kept it more low residential as well. Now, as I'm going through this, I know that I have to stress a few things. The future land use map doesn't automatically rezone any one parcel. It just gives guidance to what future development could look like there. So in the event that someone has a single family home, it is now neighborhood commercial that is still a single family home and is to be treated as such. So it does not do away with how things are zoned now. And then we go straight into the industrial part of it. The other item I want to share with you is south of Willmar Avenue. You can see this is the bulk of, here, I'll just zoom in right here. What you see is neighborhood commercial here. So think of this being you and myself living here in Willmar and traveling to these locations. And think of some of our friends that come in from Kirkhoven or Spicer or New London. They're probably going to visit here south of Willmar Avenue to go to some of our big box stores. And so you'll see that Walmart and Target and some of our grocery stores as well are more mixed use, leaning towards that regional commercial as well. And the last thing that I'll show you is very northeast of the map. We have the Civic Center. This is kind of a no-brainer to the focus group and members that worked on this, including our Parks and Rec director, that the Civic Center could easily be zoned. The land use category probably should be park and not just institutional. So we have a lot of recreational activity there. We actually have the trails that run through there as well. And part of that is to make certain that that area is set up for success, especially when you're coming to future grant opportunities as well. So I will go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. And so we are going to explore some of development opportunities, such as the rail park. We know that is happening. Community entrance was a huge call out, downtown being a huge call out as well. Regional commercial, industrial park, and housing throughout the city. So our future land use plan, it identifies kind of where we could be. And again, this is within 20 years. And I have some numbers that I'd like to go over. So low density residential existing, there's about 1,800 units. Future, we could easily do 1,900 units. Future households, that's 2.5 persons a household. We can increase it to about 5,000. I'm really interested in the future population for this. So we're looking total, if we think about 20 years from now, and it'll be 2045 or 2044, we're looking to gain about 16,000 residents. So one way to do that in our existing boundaries is to take a look at our land use and make sure that we can promote housing throughout. So existing, I'm going to go over some acreage for you and some of the percentages of land because I think that is important. Is not represented on this chart. However, for low density residential, about 23% of our land is designated for low density residential. If using the future land use map as it is, we would increase that by 26%. So we'll go from 23 to 26%. Medium density right now is about 4% of our existing land, and we would increase that by double, so there'll be 8% of the total land. High density right now, there isn't a land use category for high density, and so we would implement that and go to 3% of our total land. And just to point out just a few more things, the industrial park, if we use the future land use map as presented today, currently it is at 8% for industrial, and that will go up to 17%. I'm happy to share all these numbers with you at a later date, as well as a formal analysis of our survey results. With that, you can scan this QR code, and people who are watching, audience who's watching tonight can scan this. It'll take you to our comprehensive webpage, and you can make comments on the interactive land use map. With that, I will stand for any of your questions.
Audrey.
I'm curious about the urban growth boundary.
Yes.
It's a square box. I was expecting us maybe to be looking at being more north, some north or some different directions, and so I'm just curious.
Yeah. Great question. The urban growth area is and boundary is kind of reserved by the county for the city. This will kind of say where exactly we could expand, where city services are. On the map, it does depict a square. However, it's a lot larger than that, and the shapes are kind of is different than a square. Did want to just show that just to highlight the area though, but that is not a true representation of the urban growth boundary. You're welcome.
Questions? Vicky.
I just want to say good work on all this. I know you worked really hard getting all the surveys and stuff. You did a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't do it by myself, though. It was with Chris Frank, city staff as well. Chris Frank is our city planner, as well as majority of all of the Department of Planning and Development and city staff. So, and to you all that came to all of our workshops and made sure that you participate and spread the word. So, thank you.
Justin.
I just want to say, like, the interactive map is just fun. I've been playing around with it and zoning out as you talked about other things. Yeah, you should all take a look at it, and the comment feature is even better. Like, excited to tell you just random things. No, nice work.
Thank you. We'll take your comments there as well as if you want to email planning@willmarmn.gov.
Audrey.
You know, I've asked for this and you've given it to me, but when we look at city boundaries currently right now, it's not on this map, is it? Or is the colors that are represented inclusive of the city-owned land?
So I'm hearing two things. The boundaries are represented by all of the colored, the multicolored lots. That is the city boundary. Parcels that are owned by the city are not highlighted on this map. However, in a future map, I provided you that, but I can provide that in a.
You answered my question.
Okay.
Thanks.
But on the interactive map, you can highlight and see all the city-owned parcels.
Yes, you can. That is a layer. That is a layer. Yes.
Okay.
You should have zoned out. Stop listening. Go on your computer.
I'm too busy looking at the paper.
Stop talking, play.
Anything else? Otherwise, this is strictly for information.
Yes, this is strictly information. The next thing that will happen, we'll release more of a formal analysis of our survey results, provide a visioning statement as well, and then we'll come back probably in November or December with a draft document.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
At this time, council?
Oh, one more thing.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Did you want to?
No, go ahead.
If you will give us just a second, we want to give you an update on Sweet Living and from last year. So bear with us just a second.
So I'll let you hold those up first.
What? I can't hear you.
Does the staff have like a bet about giving council members like a comically large handout that Christopher just won? Is there a pool somewhere?
You won. So tonight we'd like to offer an update on the Sweet Living and their rental license. So during So this update is on the issue that came to council a few times over the last year or so involving the rental housing license for multifamily units owned by Sweet Living. This update is not for the entire Sweet Living portfolio, and this is no way generalization of open inspections and complaints and inquiries. But the city staff has worked diligently with administrating its rental housing license ordinance. It has been in regular communication with Sweet Living representatives throughout this process. Sweet Living has completed the relicensing process for all units for which it sought license, and the city has reissued all its licenses. Based on the recent relicensing inspections of Sweet Living properties, city staff acknowledges there is no outstanding building or fire code violations in any of these properties. Sweet Living has been responsive to the city notices and requirements and has made considerable improvements to its properties. This is an important issue of the city because Sweet Living comprises a significant percentage of the affordable rental housing units in the cities and therefore a significant resource for the city's employers and its workforce. Relicensing process was challenging and not what either party would have expected or preferred, but the process has been completed and the city and Sweet Living have used the experience to make improvements on both sides, including the city use of computer software, which makes the licensing process more efficient, Sweet Living improvements in management and ability to promptly respond to the city's concerns, and Sweet Living and the city have each worked to establish a productive working relationship. Thank you. Just want to provide that update for you. So now we can move on.
All right, thank you. Next is finance update from Finance Director Tom Owens.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just a brief update from the finance department. We are through the third quarter, so in closing your packet, you'll have some budgetary information. So 75% would be our target right now. You can see our revenues are just shy. I do want to point out a couple things. We do only receive property tax payments twice a year, and then our LGA twice a year. So that's the reason for it's a little bit less than 75%, but there's nothing to worry about there. As far as the departments go, there are a couple that are a little higher, but there are some expenses that are expensed throughout the year, and those expenses have been and payments have been made. For the general government, we're right at 74.5%, so right on target. The police and fire, public safety is also right there, coming in just a hair under budget. And then the public works, engineering, transit, and stormwater is also coming in a little under budget, but we are expecting some more payments to be made for our engineering services throughout the year. And then our leisure services towards the bottom is also a little under budget right now, but we're tracking pretty well right now. On the wastewater treatment plant, that is going to be, their revenues are also just a little bit lagged coming in because the municipal utilities does the billing and collection for us, and then they remit those payments to the city. So that is for our year-to-date budget. And now on the investment side of things, enclosed is your investment activity for the third quarter. You'll see we did decrease our portfolio. I would say the largest portion of that is going to be our construction. We've cashed in some money from our 4M fund to make our payment applications for our construction projects. It's going to be for the 2023 and the 2024 projects, both of them. The following would just be our cash and investment portfolio that we currently have after the third quarter. You'll see the par value and the market value do fluctuate. The market value would obviously fluctuate with the market. And the two key drivers to cause those numbers to fluctuate is going to be the interest rate environment that we're in, as well as the time to maturity. But at the end, when they are all matured, they will mature at the par value. And then the next piece is the historical interest and dividends per quarter. So you'll just see, this is a 10-year look back. You'll see the increase. Obviously, the interest rate environment that we are in right now has changed significantly over the last 10 years. So you'll see the interest and dividends received have increased substantially. And then the last piece in your packet. It's the dividends and interest received just by our institution, breaking it down by which company or where we earned the dividends and interest. It's just a quick overview of the third quarter. And now the second piece would be an update to our 2025 budget and our tax levy. On September 3rd, the mayor's budget was presented to council with a net result of a total tax levy of $11,132,914. Since then, staff has received recommendations and also from council as well as our department heads, and we have been able to reduce the overall levy by $167,661. Part of that is an increase. We were able to be awarded a grant for $25,000 that we were made aware of. And then just to point out a couple departments, planning development decreased by $25,000. The human resources and cultural diversity, both around $25,000 to $26,000. The fire department did decrease about $3,500, same with public works at $7,000. The library, that was a recommendation based on the work session we had, was to go back to the 2024 funding instead of the 5% increase for the 2025. So that resulted in a decrease of $23,651. And then our Parks and Rec department was a $10,000 decrease from the director there. And then lastly was the community center. That is $18,850 in a reduction for the 2025 budget, coming across many different line items there. So I guess now would be the time to provide any final input, but if there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, this is the levy and the budget that I plan on bringing to you all in December for the Truth and Taxation hearing. So if you have any questions, I'll stand.
Any questions? Justin?
One of the last meeting, 2 meetings ago, the police department presented a request for us to approve a full-time community service officer with the understanding that that would reduce licensed officers by one, basically switching out a licensed officer with a community service officer. We were led to believe that would have payroll implications.
I might defer to Administrator Valiant for that.
It would only have salary payroll implications. It will not do anything with the benefits. So the benefits do not decrease one bit because it's a full-time position, so they'd have full benefits like everybody else.
But there's no adjustment in the department's budget?
It's not that much to make that adjustment.
Okay.
Julie?
Did you say 18,000 for the community center?
Correct, $18,850.
Was that the result of having to cut a part-time person?
It came across, I know that was a significant piece, was the temporary or part-time salary line item. I came across ultimately from small tools, general supplies, office supplies, overtime, as well as the temporary part-time staff lines.
There wasn't any place else that the Park and Rec could reduce staff other than the limited staff that's available at the community center?
We did
I know
meet
that
with,
you can't answer that.
I guess we did meet with the director, the Parks and Rec director, and he had met with his staff and administration as well. And this is the number that they brought forward that he was comfortable with for the community center.
There was no cut to for our salaries in that. That I can recall, under the community center. It came from other line items.
It was my understanding that it was going to come out of some of the part-time staff.
That was the request, but that's not what happened.
Audrey?
Thank you. I'm still confused with the police department. So I don't understand why going from 4 officers to 3 officers.
Because still you have a full-time CSO. So as far as benefits, that's not going to change anything.
No, I understand this.
Right.
So, but
And
if we agreed to go to 1 less officer,
But he's got a full-time CSO, and that isn't that substantial in reduction of salary.
I know the difference between the two, but I thought with putting a CSO on, he was willing to go down one recruitment.
But that's still
Not the
it's just-
CSO, but to go from,
but that's still a full-time position. He's really not reducing his full-time positions.
that's not what I understood.
No,
He wanted a CSO officer, but he also thought he could reduce his recruits.
it would still be, he still would have 4 open positions, just counted as 4 open positions. 1 would be filled by a CSO officer and 3 would be officers. So he's not reducing staff reductions at all.
That's not what I
Number.
understood. I thought he was gonna go to recruiting
No.
2 with a full CSO
No,
and not having anyone in the schools.
no. And as far as the SROs, we have no idea where that's at yet. That'll be a discussion later.
Julie?
I would still think budget-wise, the salary for a CSO is gonna be significantly different than a full-time police officer.
But when you take it,
And I
it
get the
depends, yeah,
benefits.
it's
Benefits
not-
are fine.
it's not significant to change the dollar amount. It's not gonna drop it by, so that it's a 1% decrease in the tax levy. It's not even gonna drop the levy by probably less than 1/4%, if not even that. It's not going to be significant to show any reduction in the tax levy.
Okay. But just the thing we were just talking about with the community center. We're dealing with an $18,000 difference that they had to cut if that resulted in a part-time person, which was my understanding. But that would definitely be the salary between a CSO and a licensed police officer. That $18,000. And that really impacts a whole nother department. But I still think without an answer to the school resource officers in the school, at least for 2025, I don't see that changing. That we could still drop one position to balance the budget better.
Justin?
Just speaking to Councilmember Osmus's point, like the fire department, you're reporting a $3,500 decrease. I'd like to see that number for the police department, right? Like clearly that's going to be a couple $1,000s. It'd be nice to see that. As for school resource officers, we don't know anything.
No, the school will not make a decision on that yet. They have to figure out their finances, and it would, if anything, it wouldn't start till fall of 2025. So if that's the case, then we still have to have in the budget enough money for the fall of 2025.
And what conversations have happened between city staff and school leadership?
Right now, that's exactly what the conversation has been, that they are looking into their finances. That has not gone anywhere other than that right now.
How long are they going to take to look into their finances?
It's only been a week.
It's been a week?
Yeah.
We've had.
And then they had MEA last week, so.
Sure. But that was our budget workshop meeting. That's been a while since that.
Well,
Is there any kind of timeline for it? Let me just ask it differently. Is there a timeline for it?
That's up to the school. Bill said he would get that to me when they had the information with the finance people.
Be good if they.
I don't think they're going to make it because their budget process won't start until next year of 2020 because their budget ends June 30th of 2025. So their budget process probably starts February or March.
Okay.
Audrey?
I'd still like to see fine tuning on the police department, and I agree with Julie, the reduction should be in there somewhere. And with the SROs, the minutes reflected that they weren't going to do anything. But if we go back to the SROs, then the school's going to pay us to do that. And so
That's
that
true.
should be covering our costs.
But it doesn't cover 100%.
Well, I still think there could be a reduction.
Because that was income we had from years past.
Yeah, we probably lost a couple $100,000 by keeping that on and not getting the revenue.
Right.
But I still think the change that we agreed to with the SRO office, there should be some reduction there. I do. I mean, I agree with the others. There's 2,300, 7,000, 3,500. We asked everyone to do that, and I think the police department needs to reflect that also.
Tom?
Now with the police department, I know, police chief Felt doesn't here anymore, but I thought we were talking about lowering by 2 brand new police cars.
Yes,
Off
we're
of
only
here?
going to buy 2. That's the
Is that showing on? there?
No, that's the capital improvement side of the budget. This is the general levy side of the budget. They're 2 different processes.
So to clarify, I can go in and do the dollar amount difference in the salaries from the CSO licensed officer. The CSO, is that council's wishes, just that adjustment, or would you like to see something else? I guess I'm looking for direction for.
Do you know what's in there for SROs right now?
CSO, the
Community
difference.
service
No,
officer.
well, there are 2 different questions. So I agree with what you're suggesting to do that. But do we know what's in the budget for SROs?
Nothing.
Nothing.
There's nothing in the contract. For the 2024 budget, we did cut our anticipated revenue in half in hopes to resolve the contract. Since then, it did not move forward, so we did not receive revenue for 2024.
So we don't have expenses in the police department budget for next year for SROs.
It's not a line item, it's salary.
So it's
There's
not-
The salary doesn't change whether there's or is not.
Correct, and then there's also no revenue in the budget as well.
All right. Anything else, Tom? Justin?
I guess I've never been able to understand this, and it's not from a lack of people trying to explain it to me, but if I'm the only one, then I'm the only one. But the police department has a whole bunch of officers. There's a certain amount of officers that serve the city, 4 of which for a long time have been community or school resource officers. Those 4 officers are no longer needed. The school hasn't wanted them for a while. If they ever come back, we're going to have income to offset that salary expense. So we have all these officers, 4 of which did this one thing, don't need that anymore. How have we not seen a reduction in the amount of officers that we need for the city if these 4 officers who did this one thing are no longer needed there? And in the conversations that we've had, we're not asking the police department. I've never heard any of us suggest that you should reduce by 4, but it seems to me reducing by 1, reducing by 2, seems perfectly reasonable when they're no longer needing that full complement of officers. And if the school comes back and in the fall, it sounds like we got plenty of time to say, okay, let's adjust. Let's increase that the amount of officers we're looking for. We've got income to cover it.
If it would be that easy to hire a police officer,
That's the other
that
thing,
would
right?
be, it takes a good 6 months, if not longer, to get an officer in place.
And we're not hiring them anyway.
Well, we're in the process, and right now we're actually 4 short, right? So what you're saying is the SROs, if it's 4, we are running 4 short. And I think we already have, and Chief Holm can correct me, but we do have 2 squads that are running a man or 2 short right now, or a person. So we are running short, and they are needed.
Right, but I'm not saying, so the 4 that used to be doing work for the
SROs, yeah.
school have now been assigned other places.
They're patrols, yes.
Right, so we're still looking to hire more.
Yes.
Do we need to hire 4 more?
Oh, for sure we need to hire 2 more.
Yeah, great. Let's hire 2 more. Let's hire 3 more.
But that's what I was trying to say at the beginning when we agreed to hire a full-time community service officer. I thought we were also agreeing to hire one less police officer.
We are,
A
Yes.
CSO officer in place of a police officer.
yes.
But there should be a reduction.
So there's only 3 that we're looking to hire. 3 patrol officers or 3 officers. If we hire a community service officer instead of 4 officers. And the reduction in wages between a patrol officer to a CSO officer is, I'm saying, is not that significant. But I guess there would be some reduction in the salary. Not benefits, but the salary.
I guess one other point to add, in the history of the police department, it has been historically, I'd say, under budgeted. And this is bringing it back more in line with what our true expenses are. As we have longtime employees, as we just saw Chief Felt retired this last week, there's many hours of accumulated sick and vacation time that must be paid out. So that also would be a payout on the police department. This year, we've seen at least 4 longtime employees at the police department being paid out. So those are also salaries that we'd have to. So I would recommend not decreasing. I'll do the difference in the CSO and the licensed officer for certain. But the line item for the salaries for the police department has been historically over budget, and I believe we're kind of coming back in line to where we truly are with. And then another thing, this hopefully doesn't happen all the time, but if there are any other settlements that may happen, either with the police department, we also have to have had to pay those out, so that does affect the department's budget as well.
Well, we don't need to take any action on that, right?
Information.
So next, November meeting, when are we doing the final budget?
December 2nd will be the truth and taxation hearing.
Okay.
So we need to know where the council wants to sit.
So when are we gonna get another copy of the line by line?
We could get you that this week, if you would like to review that.
Okay.
Next meeting.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Next, Carl. Aye.
Hopefully this is short. And this may be a question for Jared or Justin, I'm not sure. And the reason I'm asking is I was brought into a conversation, an ongoing conversation between somebody on Gorton Avenue and not the one that we have all heard from, but a different one, who has a sprinkler system that gets most of the newly seeded area, but not all of it. Is it the homeowner's responsibility to water, weed the new boulevard and the newly seeded areas? Or in the contract, does it say that or in the agreement with the contractor, does it say that they will reseed or get it back to the way it was prior?
Yes, so good evening, Mayor, Council. Good question. The contract requires that the contractor reestablish turf as part of the project. Now, as we've noticed on all of the reconstruction projects, the property owners that add a little extra TLC to that seed by watering, mowing at appropriate height, have better products. I think that was referenced perhaps in a discussion relative to why does one property owner's grass look so much better than another property owner's, and that is a direct result of the care that they put into it. But in terms of the contract does require 70% establishment, which is consistent with MnDOT. So 70% isn't identical to sod, but it is at a point MnDOT uses to consider it fully established.
So when they put the seed down and then it doesn't rain for 2 months, so nothing grows but weeds, is it up to the contractor to come by and water that so that it establishes, or is that on the homeowner?
The short answer is contractor, because they are ultimately tasked with the responsibility of establishing 70% coverage of turf. So
I don't know that that has happened everywhere along Gordon Avenue for sure.
I can guarantee you it has not.
So what do we do? How do we help homeowners here?
Well, in spring, because our seeding dates are over, contractor will have to come in again. And I think I share the same sentiment. The turf establishment is one of the most frustrating things on any project, and it happens on every single one of them, primarily. And we haven't found that silver bullet yet. So,
And I agree 100% that homeowners can help themselves a lot by just general maintenance, but
yeah, we're
also
not
get
asking
that that's
them
not
to do
everybody's
everything
right.
Associated with that, but if they can help out, that'd be great.
Yeah.
It'll help establish their lawn.
But
much
not everybody has that
right
ability or desire. So
and it is ultimately the contractor's responsibility.
that's what I wanted to get on the record, I guess. Okay. Thank you.
My street was done last year. They seeded it. I watered it. I got 50% weeds, 50% grass. I went and got some Weed Be Gone, sprayed the weeds, killed the weeds, and then threw 25 pounds of seed on it. And it's starting to look good, and now it's looking tough again. But it takes some water and it takes some care. I think Julie wanted it then.
Well, I was, you lived on 6th Street. I'm familiar with 6th Street. That was terrible. And like you said, that's the most frustrating part. And did we go with a different seeding company? I mean, because initially I think it was all weeds and then it had to get redone. Are we using a different company? How can we make our homeowners happy?
Relative to the seed companies, each project that we bid is a publicly bid project, and each contractor uses different seeding subcontractors. So, unless we change our process, we're not at liberty to change the seeding subcontractors that we get. So, in terms of that, seed mix didn't change. Same seed mix that was successfully used by one contractor was unsuccessfully used by another. I really wish I had an answer here for you. I will encourage you not to ever consider sod because that's a bigger mess when it doesn't grow. So we're going to continue to do our best, and I'm open to suggestions, to be honest with you, because this is an issue with every project, and it's frustrating. And when it gets to this level, it's extremely frustrating for me because it should never get to this point. So that's where I'm at.
So I was curious if we should be changing our contract to do a withhold on the finishing, or if it relates to a certain contractor that we have tighter. I know we went through and changed dirt and required stuff to be hauled in that was, that type of thing. But there's a pattern here, and it's been going on for years. And so is it something that we should be adding to our contracts, that they have to have successful grass for 2 years and withhold money from them to get it going?
So until the turf is accepted, contractor's not paid in full. In addition, we do have a 2-year warranty period that the contractor is required to repair items that are unsatisfactory. So those provisions are in place. I think it's the speed at which the turf gets established that's the concern primarily.
Right. For information only.
Yeah.
Thanks, Council.
Thank you. All right. Any community pride, we will go to Any community pride? If not, do I need a,
You have it on your phone, on your email, the labor closed session. Otherwise, I can give it to you.
all right? The agenda item for this meeting is strategy for labor negotiations pursuant to Minnesota statutes, section 13D.03, subdivision 1. I will now entertain a motion to close this portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion?
There's no
Roll
discussion.
call.
Councilmember Oz,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Baggerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
and Butterfield.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. The city council will now go into a closed session here in the city council chambers. The time is 8:26. And I lost my place.